Hello, Scrufftards and everyone else. Welcome to the War Zone. I'm Scruffy, and this is Scruffy Tales. And we're gonna take a quick look at what's been going on in Kursk, but also the units that Ukraine has decided to deploy to this section of the front line. And when we take a closer look, we find out that these are some of the most capable, most elite, most kick-ass units that Ukraine has available. Right, so here we have the Kursk incursion, and let's start off over here. Novaya Russia has pushed out along this street, this main street. Ukraine operated over here a couple of days ago, but in the last 24 to 48 hours, Russia has moved along the street, pushing Ukraine back to somewhere over here around this intersection here, possibly over here as well. But this is where the main fighting is going on at the moment. Sorry. That's about it here in the center of it all. Ukraine appears to still be in control of these patches of woodlands here. We'll see if they can push on into these woods here, or maybe down here. But that's generally what has happened over here. Russia having some successes in the middle of the town of Novaya Big thing though is over here is that basically all pro-Ukrainian mappers are now in alignment with Ukraine, holding the line along this railroad here outside of Veseloye, having either fallen back or been pushed back away from the town of Veseloye and the village of Ubukovka. We had for the longest of time indications that Ukraine was moving up this way and also this way, but now it appears as if everyone is in agreement that Ukraine has fallen back to this railroad here. And this arrow here indicates where Ukraine has breached the Russian minefields and dragon teeth along the border here at Novy Put. And as you can see, Russia is very close to this location. And if Russia can push in here, they have essentially taken the Ukrainian access point to Russia in this area. Now, there's been a lot of talk of Veseloye during these weeks, but I must highlight the Krasnotabrisky and Wolfino. This is what Ukraine had. These two towns, Ukraine had to take them in order to bring in all the troops, manpower, resources needed to take Veseloye and push on towards Glushkovo. But the fact that Russia held on to these two towns while being attacked from the Ukrainian side of the border, being attacked from the east. We also saw Ukraine pushing up this way along this windbreak. And Russia was losing vehicles up here. We have seen artillery strikes, drone strikes continuously against these two towns. Russia held them despite all of that. And this is the reason why Ukraine is now falling back. Had Ukraine taken these towns, they would have been able to much more successfully pushed into Veseloye, and beyond that moving up to Sukhinovka and Glushkovo. So that Russia held these two towns, I mean, quite incredible considering they were attacked from three sides for several weeks. And that essentially ensured that Russia could defend and hold Veseloye. And I just want to show you Andrew Perpetua's map here from the 31st, updated some 10 or 11 hours ago. If we take a look here, I mean, if we go to Veseloye, here we have Russian T-80 destroyed. Over here, Russian BMD-2 destroyed. Here we have Ukrainian assault and a Ukrainian smokescreen. As you can see, Andrew and as well as Deep State has Ukraine north of the railroad. Like I said, the mappers are not in alignment. Other mappers have Ukraine south of it, But as you can see, we're clearly seeing Ukraine are still in the fight and holding on to the territory they have here in Glishkovia and Vesloya. Moving on, take a look what's going on over here. Russian destroyed, Russian T-SIM destroyed. Lots of Russian equipment has been destroyed of late in Kursk. So Ukraine, they're still in the fight and they're still kicking in the teeth on the Russians. Right, so that was Kursk. Not much to add at the moment, to be honest. I don't think we know where the North Koreans have been deployed yet, but you know, the rumors are that the North Koreans are up here in Kursk, moving around. Not sure where, but somewhere. But other than that, I figured we would take a look at the other incursion into Russia Ukraine has ongoing down here at Kharkiv. And it is over here. Just to highlight that Russia is relying on 3 supply routes leading into this section of the Kharkiv front as they're fighting on this big hill here at Hlyboki. And Ukraine has pushed in this far. We are seeing Russian artillery strikes against these woods, clearly indicating we have Ukrainians in the area. And Ukraine is right now on the outskirts of Soralevka, where Russia is moving supplies through this one reliable supply route into this part of the front line. These 2 routes are not as reliable. Dirt tracks, it's mud season, it's not fun moving dozens of trucks through this area, through all that mud. Russia needs this highway to bring in the supplies needed to fight along this front line. And Ukraine has now pushed in and more than likely are disrupting the flow of logistics leading into the front line over here. And we'll see if Ukraine can push into town itself, but as you can see, they are right now right on the outskirts, being a major threat to this very vital supply line that more or less is key for Russian efforts to maintain a successful front line here north of Kharkiv. Now, beyond what's going on the front lines with the front lines moving back and forth, we're seeing Russians attacking small towns. You see Ukrainians pushing into forested areas and what have you and stuff like that. Kursk is actually interesting for a number of reasons, mainly because of the units that Ukraine has decided to push into Kursk. And we have, for instance, the most advanced, the most capable, and the most deadly fighting force in the Ukrainian army, the 21st Mechanized, that has some of the best equipment available to the Ukrainian army. They have CV-90s, the best infantry fighting vehicles in the world. The 21st Mechanized has the Swedish main battle tank, the STRV-122, the most heavily armored tank in the entire war. They also have Leopard 2 A6 tanks armed with the L55 main gun, which is the best tank gun on the planet. Way more powerful than the L44 found on the M1A2 Abrams or the STRV-122. So the Leopard 2 A6 is a very deadly tank, and the STRV-122 can take punishment like no other tank. And the CV-90 with its 40mm Bofors automatic cannon can destroy anything it comes across, including tanks. And the 21st Mechanized also has Polish APCs armed with 30mm chain guns, a chain gun that is more powerful than the 25mm on the Bradley infantry fighting vehicle. So the 21st Mechanized is an incredibly powerful mechanized formation. Now, the combination of these vehicles in this one single brigade, the 21st Mechanized, has made it an incredibly powerful unit, and more than likely the most powerful, the most aggressive, and the most advanced and deadly formation in the entire war. But there is, of course, more than just the 21st Mechanized. We have also one of the most legendary units in the entire Ukrainian army serving in Kursk. And we are, of course, talking about the legendary 47th Mechanized Brigade, one of the toughest units in the entire Ukrainian army. They have seen action all across the front line. They've taken part in some of the toughest battles imaginable. And they are known across the globe as one of the most battle-hardened unit of veterans uh, imaginable. You won't find any other unit more capable of taking the fight to the enemy than the 47th. And that is quite incredible and a testament to how tough these soldiers are, considering they are using some very old equipment by Western standards, such as the M1A1 Abrams, a very old tank that has been replaced in the American Army by the M1A2 main battle tank. And the M1A1 has, of course, as we all know, suffered in this war. It's not the best tank when you have skies full of drones, and it has had some issues in being able to maneuver properly in the mud during mud season. But despite these flaws, the 47th have put them to good use and are relying on them to take the fight to the Russians within Russia itself. They are also famous for fielding the Bradley infantry fighting vehicle. The American IFV has a very weak gun, the 25mm chain gun. Like we just pointed out, Polish armored personnel carriers has a bigger gun, and I mean the 25mm does not compare to the 40mm of the CV90. But the 47th, they are putting these vehicles to good use. The Bradley protects the crew. It offers excellent protection. And despite the weak gun, it does have powerful anti-tank guided missiles in the shape of the TOW missiles that can obliterate any tank that the Bradley comes across. But all that said, we should not forget that these vehicles are far more advanced, far more capable, and far more reliable than anything in the Russian arsenal. You won't see any turret tosses when a M1A1 Abrams is hit, and you won't see a burnt out carcass from a single drone if the Bradley gets hit as well. These are capable vehicles. They are dangerous, but they are simply not the best equipment available on the Western market, and Ukraine has received better vehicles. But beggars can't be choosers. Ukraine is obviously super excited to fielding these vehicles because they need them. They need armor, they need guns, and if it's one thing the Americans got, it is a lot of these tanks, a lot of these infantry fighting vehicles, and they can keep supplying them as Ukraine loses them on the field of battle. But that's not all. Yes, we have the 21st Mechanized, the without a doubt the most powerful unit in the Ukrainian army. You have the 47th Mechanized, the most battle-hardened unit of veterans available on the planet, the most die-hard for the troops available to any army in the 47th Mechanized. But that is not enough, because Ukraine has doubled down on Kursk and, by all accounts, has deployed the 155th Mechanized to Kursk as well, the unit trained by France and equipped by France. And this unit will apparently be provided with more than 100 light armored vehicles, very capable of taking on infantry and light skinned vehicles such as APCs and the like. Maybe not, should not, maybe not engage infantry fighting vehicles and tanks and stuff like that, but very capable in supporting infantry in the fight against APCs and other similar MRAP style vehicles. And they will also be provided with the Caesar mobile artillery systems, self-propelled guns that are very capable artillery systems that Ukraine has been using extensively throughout the war. Very good artillery produced and provided by France. And they will also be provided with light reconnaissance armored vehicles that carries a big gun that makes them look like a tank. They're not. They are in fact reconnaissance vehicles, and they are also very capable in the role as support guns that can quickly and speedily redeploy on the front line as needed to support infantry. They can take out bunkers from a distance. They can take out an infantry fighting vehicle, helping infantry pinned, for instance, or move around and perform reconnaissance, locating enemy positions and what have you. A very capable vehicle. If used correctly, it should not be used to go after heavy armor. It's not its intended role. It's supposed to find the enemy, and it's supposed to support infantry. And in support of all of this, the 155th has been outfitted with older Leopard 2 tanks, the Leopard 2A4. It's a tank not to be sneered at despite its age, because in recent competitions and tournaments, the Leopard 2A4 has outperformed the newer, more modern, more advanced Abrams M1A2. So if the crew knows what they're doing, this tank is still very much a capable tank on the modern battlefield. And something tells me that the Ukrainians of the 155th will put this old tank to good use, because it has proven itself to still be a credible and capable threat on the modern battlefield. So taking a look at these three units, the 21st, the 47th, and now the 155th, I mean, what they bring to the battlefield, the awesome firepower and offensive capabilities of the 21st, the experience, the die-hard nature of the 47th, the will to never give up, to keep fighting, that spirit of the 47th, and now this latest unit, the 155th, trained and equipped by France, a high-profile unit that I suspect Ukraine puts a lot of trust in the coming months here. With all of them in Kursk, that should tell us something about Kursk. Ukraine has no intentions of leaving Kursk. They want to maintain a foothold there. They want to keep fighting in Kursk because they want Russia to allocate more and more manpower and resources into Kursk, and by so doing, moving the war from Ukraine into Russia. So we'll see how things goes, but I think it's safe to say that Ukraine has no intentions of leaving Kursk anytime soon, and they will fight for as long as they can to hold territory within Russia. And I mean, we can see it on the units they are deploying there, the 21st, the 47th, and now a high-profile unit like the 155th. I mean, it's just one experienced, powerful unit after the other being moved into Kursk, and Ukraine wants to fight here. Now, the 10,000 North Koreans, will they make a difference? I mean, it depends. If they are capable soldiers, yes. If they're cannon fodder, maybe not. And eventually, I mean, I think it's leaning towards Russia will have to deploy their own troops to Kursk. They can't rely on the North Koreans. And when that happens, they will have to weaken other sections of the front line down in Ukraine, and the war will slowly move into Kursk. So the question is, can Ukraine maintain a foothold in Kursk long enough for that to happen? It all comes down to how capable the North Koreans are. And we will just gonna have to wait and see if the North Koreans can actually help Russia push Ukraine out of Kursk. But we have to remember, according to traditional wisdom when it comes to manpower and combat in war, you need 3-1 or a 5-1 advantage to have success over a defending enemy. And the 155th Mechanized, they're roughly 2,000 to 2,500 fighting men strong. And we have 10,000 North Koreans being moved into Kursk. The 155th might just be enough to counter the presence of the 10,000 North Koreans. And if they deploy another brigade of another 2,000 men, the Ukrainians that is, to Kursk, then they well and truly have countered the presence of the North Koreans, which will force Russia to move in troops from other parts of the front line in order to overcome these new brigades that Ukraine has moved in to Kursk. And that's going to have to be it. I think it's very interesting with the 155th. First we saw the 21st, then we saw the 47th, and now the 155th. 3 high-profile units have been deployed to Kursk. And, well, Ukraine, they want to hold on to the territory they have, and I'm thinking they want to expand as well. We'll see what happens. But that's going to have to be it. I hope I'll see you in the next one. I hope you found it interesting. And as always, go på marsch, Ukraine, and give them hell.